Good afternoon. It is Friday, March 5th, 2021, and it is time for another Let's Build Citizen Livestream, so let's get started. Alright, starting a little late today on account of having a few phone call meetings. That went all very well. Hey, Sirpath. Let me share all around on the internets. Alrighty. So, what is on the agenda for today? So we got a couple of things to hit on the kind of bug fixing and usability side. Nothing heavy, but a couple of items. And then the thing I would really like to get done today is the community reactions. Just reactions in general, really, but community-defined reactions. It's not a small feature. It's probably about... it's probably about as difficult as the image posts were. Maybe like slightly easier, but about the same level of difficulty. Glad to finally get your coworker back online. So now I gotta think about how much energy I got. It's a Friday. Usually I'm, end of the week, starting to slow down a little bit, but I did get to have the morning off. So let's just find out, see how far we can get here. I would really love to get those reactions out today, though, because I think we're missing it pretty badly. But on the usability front, a couple of things that are bugging me, and a couple of bugs that are bugging me. First one is, on mobile, to be sure, and possibly on desktop too, images are a little too big in the feed. Small thing, won't take too much time to fix. We just need to kind of shrink them down a little bit. Because scrolling through your feed, you're getting, pretty big images. This is kind of the biggest they ought to be, really. Maybe a little bit bigger. Let's zoom that in a little bit. That's about right. Whereas, like, this right here, getting a little too big. And when we first got the images in, we started to get, that's a little too big, right? That's a little too big. So we got to shrink them down a little bit, and then whenever you actually click on them, boom, so, got to fix that up. And seeing as that's a pretty straightforward and simple task, let's start with that. So I'm going to, well, I guess I got a good enough image set right here, so let's jump in. After that, we need to fix up a bug that people are experiencing where it seems like, and I believe Sarah Path here in the chat ran into this, it seems like you're joining a community and then nothing's happening. Yeah, we'll get into that. It's a bug that we actually first ran into back in the alpha testing, and I fixed it to some degree, but clearly not well enough. So we gotta handle that. Alright, so we got here the non-expanded view of a post, and we got to figure out a max height that feels about right. Let's try just having it. Okay. So we may have a dynamic here that has to do with whether or not you're on mobile. Yeah, that is going to be a thing to consider here, because on desktop this looked wrong. 200 was not high enough, but on mobile it really ought to be more like about there, 150 pixels. Whereas on desktop, that's insane. That is way too small. So it's going to need to be responsive, it looks like. And so for that, we're going to need to do something along the lines of image responsive, and then either big or small. So this one is big, as is this one. And these will be small. And responsive isn't right. Image sizing. Let's say image sizing. So then over here in our actual non-Tailwind CSS, we got image sizing big and image sizing small. So on desktop, the max height, let's give 300 pixels a shot there, and small should be about half. And then we got the mobile sizing for each of these, which, what did we find just now? Was that 150 pixels, I think? So 150 for the big and probably about 75 for the small. So let's give that a shot. Okay, that seems about right. That's looking good. And then I needed to see the 3 size, or the 3 count. All right, so a little bit of that spacing problem there because we have inconsistency on that, but we'll come back to that. And then for mobile, yeah, see that's looking more correct. That's looking more like what we want. So now we just need to solve how to deal with the sort of 3-grid situation, which is this right here. The reason that's happening is that we're adding a little bit of spacing here that's not present over here. And so the images are not lining up at the bottom border. We could add another class. Could always add another class. But that's less elegant. Not a huge deal, though. Let me get my headphones and start listening to music. My impression of an angry cat. All right. So, what will listen to here? What am I in the mood for today? I'm going to do a little bit of the Fear Inoculum by Tool. Good, kind of spacey, easy listening in the background, but interesting enough. Okay, I don't think I can think of a better way to do this other than just have another class for that. Yeah. So we're just going to do that. Surely there's an easier way for this. It's just such a clunky solution. Can't think of anything. Can't reply to a post to self from somebody that does not follow you, but I can reply to themselves. I think actually that was the way I originally built it, but that's garbage. That was originally built that way. replies. No, it does make sense. It was originally built that way because it was written that way whenever we didn't have the comments. It was all kind of like Zen's replies were Zen's themselves. And in that scenario, it sort of made a little more sense, but now that there's such a defined thread, it doesn't make sense. So we should apply that filter. Yep. Okay, so I'm going to change this from just big to size. Yeah, that was sitting in the back of my head, like, I think I did it that way, and I couldn't remember, and now you've confirmed it. That's what it is. Alright, so that looks more or less right, and then how am I looking on mobile? Excuse me. A little too small? Still a little too small. No, it's a little too big. So we'll go with that. All right. Now, one other thing that I've noticed that is sort of annoying, really, is that the images are loading up and then moving the UI around. And I would like to get that kind of thing where it spaces things correctly and then fills in the image. That would be nice. And so now we need to think about how that's going to be accomplished. I suppose what that requires is to wrap these in a div. And give them a BG gray of like 50 and rounded. And we kind of have to give them some kind of predicted size. So let's create another class, image placeholder size. Hey, Paulo. I guess actually in some ways to accomplish this, what we want to do is not use max size, but just size, because we actually kind of, I think, can expect the dimensions to be consistent here. So we can actually just use image sizing and then just make these height as opposed to max height. And that ought to do it for us. In fact, that might even work for the images, but the placeholder will give us something to... Okay, interesting. No, now it's doing what it's supposed to do. That was a weird glitch. Yeah, what is that about? Sort of seeing where it's like not applying the object cover logic straight away. I wonder if I could get... Okay, in the screenshots, can you show me what's happening? Yeah, right there. We're getting this brief moment where the object cover isn't applying. Why would that happen? Let's come back to that and first get our placeholders into a good spot. Yeah, right there. Look at that. It's really weird. Okay, so these placeholders... Okay. It's not quite centered, but it's close. We can probably fix that by doing a transform, translate -50%, -50%. That should get them proper centered. Okay, now we need them to be like, how big? Let's go to text 2XL maybe? Need bigger than that, 4XL? Yeah, big, 5XL? Sort of. What's going on with the sizing? That's kind of surprising. Not the sizing, but the positioning. Oh, I missed a negative. Alright. Probably a slightly darker background. And a slightly lighter icon. Let's take it down to 300. It's a lot lighter, but that seems about right. Kind of too big on mobile, so let's do too small. Let's try 4. Okay, that's looking about right. And now the real trick, getting those to go away once the image is loaded. I don't want to have to listen to the load event on the images because that's going to be, more than is appropriate. One option would be to use a background image so that these icons are actually just a part of that gray that then gets sort of transplanted over by the actual image. Why don't we do it that way? That's kind of the simplest approach, I think. So we'll take that screenshot of this. More or less centered. Looks about centered. Okay. And now we will get rid of the icon that I painstakingly put together and do image placeholder. It would, but then I would need to position the image in such a way that it's actually taking advantage of the same premise, which is, I think, in many ways overcomplicating our CSS. This will keep it relatively straightforward. I can take the relative off of it. Only problem is it's too big on mobile. So I think we could solve that with probably some kind of way to affect the sizing. Okay, and we'll set that to, what, 70%? That works. So yeah, Ryan, I think you can see this just is a slightly simpler approach, I think, compared to layering the icon and the image over it, especially whenever we're doing some kind of funky stuff with the sizing of the images. They're pretty comparable approaches, but I like this slightly better. Okay. So it doesn't look like it's doing that weird glitch. Oh, there it goes. Huh. I wonder if it's possible that the object cover style is not getting applied in time because of like a CSS loading situation. So let's just try real quick putting it there. This might be something that was only a problem whenever I'm on the dev, because in dev, Tailwind's CSS is enormous. But that doesn't make sense, actually, because other styles are coming in immediately. So that can't be the answer. Well, it's a really bizarre problem. CSS object fit cover, not FOF, flash FOEC. Well, it's not a huge deal. It's a little ugly, but anyway, at least we're not getting relayouts. Look at that. Why is that doing that? It's really bizarre. Maybe it has to do... Huh. I don't know. I can't really come up with a reason why that might be happening, so I'm not going to worry about it for now. If it's a problem later, we can fix it later.
Citizen.
All right. That's a nice little quality of experience update. Let's just take a look. It's going to take half a second to deploy on live, so why don't I just... Yeah, it's a little nicer. And the sizing is looking good here, and then the mobile version of it. Yeah, I think that'll be better. It's my second commit log. Alright, so that was that. Let's look into this issue of not loading all the members. There's a couple of things going on here. You know, the basic one being that we're... At the moment, the way this is working is that it's doing a list of all the members in a group at load time. It's not a great scaling solution. It's not terrible, but we're talking about, you know, what happens when we get to 1,000 or 1,000,000 users. Pulling out an array that has this much information in each one, not great, really. And if you will excuse me for half a second, I just want to take a look at this update now that it's live. I want to look at it on mobile. Yeah. Okay, much better. Yeah, that was a great quality of life improvement. That just makes the whole thing look so much better right away. You know what else we're seeing? It's the occasional duplicate post. Naturally, I've seen it with a couple of... Miguel, you're getting spinning notifications forever? Shoot. Oh, I'm not getting that. That one's killing me. Anyway, of course it's Solo that is creating this duplicate bugs post thing. Solo is our resident agent of chaos, but I've seen it on other feeds. But let me see if I can find the one. Yeah, right there. These are NZ98, NZ98. These are the exact same post. So I got to figure that out. Why on earth, right? All right, Miguel, you're getting the endless notification spam. Did anything possibly happen prior to that could give us a clue about what the heck is going on here? You got anything for me? So I'm really struggling to isolate what could be causing that. So yeah, you got any ideas for me? No, maybe I'll repro it. Nope. It's just when you click it, it doesn't load, and it will sometimes load if I come back to it much later. All that occurs to me is having refreshed while loading. Yeah, sorry. It could be a Hyper-B thing. It could be that issue where, like, somehow a Hyper-B gets into a blocked state. Perhaps somebody that is in a community that you're in or that you follow whose Hyper-B is just not succeeding on the reads and blocking indefinitely, which is an incredibly difficult thing to track down, especially when I don't have at the moment a good tool to, like, when somebody else reports this problem, I can't really simply kind of like track down precisely who it's trying to load from. I guess one thing you could try is, okay, yeah, that's a thought. And I don't know anybody in Boise, Idaho, so I'm not taking that call. So that call right there is going to give you your most recent one. I appreciate that. Let's see if we can get some information this way first. So try calling that real quick in your DevTools, and let me know if it returns. If it does return, try calling it again without the limit. And if one returns and one doesn't, we get some information. If both return, that's some information. We'll track this thing down yet. What is possible that we might be able to figure out here is be able to isolate precisely which notification in the listing both return. Fascinating. Fascinating. Okay. In that case. No, I'm good on the output, especially if it's returning. Make sure I got my API right. Okay. Next, try doing what I just did here. But you're going to need to modify this call. You're going to pass in before, and what you want to do is find the last one that responded, grab the blended created at value, and use that as the before. So let's see if it's pagination that will trigger this. Wouldn't be pagination so much, it's just trying to see if the next 20 also come back. If they both come back, that suggests that it's not the notifications.list call. While you're looking into that, I am going to jump into the notifications code for that page, see what else gets called. You get 2 more back. Just 2. How interesting. Just 2. Do you think that, does it seem reasonable that you only have 22 notifications total, or do you think you should have more? Okay. I'm not notification shaming here. So that's interesting. That's super interesting. Okay, here's what we can do next to help figure this out. This will be a little bit difficult, but not terribly difficult. Go to the Network tab, refresh, and then click on the WebSocket. So this is going to be a little tricky, but you'll have less information here than I think I do. What you want to look for is some RPC call which isn't getting a response. And the way you know if you're getting a response is you'll have the arrow going up with an ID, and then if it's gotten a response, it'll be an arrow going down with the same ID. And what we're going to try to do is figure out which one of these calls is not responding. Because my guess is we have somewhere in the RPC stack one of these calls that's just never coming back with a response. And this sort of suggests that it's not list notifications, based on the fact that it returned for you when we tried those 2 calls. Okay. Apologies for that. I will be patient waiting for you to do combat. So it does look like that's the one. Okay, seems to be like... Okay, go on. That one doesn't seem to be responding, or what does it seem to you like about that method? Yeah. So that one... Peculiar. See what happens if you should have a pretty straightforward way to turn that RPC method into your own call from the console, right? Just do API.notifications.list and pass in the same parameters. See if it responds there. Yeah. So yeah, see what happens if you try calling that manually in the DevTools. So is that giving you anything if you try to call that same function yourself? That is probably the count recent notifications thing gone. Now try to... So that method that looks like it's not responding, right? That notifications... Oh, did it get filtered? Gosh, YouTube chat. This is the kind of stuff that makes me think about going to Twitch. You get a response when you do it manually. Let me think. Get a response when you do it manually. It's probably happening more often than it needs to.
CTZN.
I'm thinking right now. I'm gonna try something real quick, Miguel. I just commented on a post of yours, and what I'm curious about is, if we give it a half second, if you try refreshing again the notifications, if it loads up. Okay, you got a badge. And then endless spinner, or is it gonna? Did the page suddenly start loading? Still spinning. Okay. Well, that disproved a theory I had. I was wondering if it was possible that the maybe it had to do with a weird windowing situation where like adding another notification kind of fixes the problem, but that doesn't appear to be the case. Well, Miguel, would you be comfortable with sharing your login with me? You can always change your password first or after. Yeah, messages will keep happening because the application is constantly polling for a notifications count so as to show that badge. Okay, I really appreciate that. If you want to use like Twitter and DM me, or you could email me at pfrazy or pfrazy@gmail. Oh, notifications.list keeps going. I had a feeling. Okay, I still actually think it'd be good to go ahead and send me your creds, and I could solve this faster that way. That was another one of my theories, and that tells us exactly what we need to know. So yeah, if you could email me or DM me your creds, we'll get this nipped in the bud. Okay. I appreciate all the help you're giving me here. Hope nothing urgent in a way that's, bad news or anything. Okay, now I just need Twitter desktop to... There we go. All right. All right, the world through somebody else's eyes. Hey, notifications aren't loading. All right. Looks like what's happening is somehow we're getting into an endless loop. So this notification is from Solo. Looks like it's the same one coming back every time. It's a follow. Okay. So it's the same follow. The blended created at is correctly getting pulled out. Nine 1 2 0 3 Kitty catty. Okay, we have some kind of edge case occurring where, for some reason, before is not applying the way it should. Okay. Interesting challenge to isolate why this would occur. Interesting challenge indeed. This is probably related to the same issue we were having where the duplicate posts were showing up in the feed. I'd bet good money. And Ish, you saying it's 2:35 in the morning where you're at? Interesting. There are two conditions that break out of the loop. One of them is sub-results coming back 0 in its length, because you've hit, when you get to the end, it should, right, stop returning results. The other one is if you hit the desired number. So both of them can happen in different conditions. This is the one we should be hitting right now, and we're not. Makes me wonder. One way I think maybe this could happen we're using, in fact, I think I have a theory. We're using the monotonic lexicographic integer encoding for our keys. Sub-results is added and then filtered out. Yeah, so sub-results is added and then filtered out with the dedupe, and you read the same notification the next round of the loop. Exactly right. So I think here's what's happening. We have this monotonic lexicographic timestamp. And the way that this thing is designed is the lexicographic part of it is setting it up so that you're going from a timestamp into something which is going to sort correctly in your database for your key ranges. The monotonic part is designed so that if you are writing two entries and they have the same timestamp, it will become something like that. Basically avoiding the potential for key collisions. My theory is that the actual key is this, and we're not currently sorting against or doing the key when we do these ranges. We're actually using the original number, which means that this probably is sorting such that this gets hit. I bet good money that's what this is. The API was written this way because I wanted to be able to pass in a timestamp from a receiving side, so you could say, give me my notifications for April 5th or something like that. But I think what we ought to do is actually return the key of the notification, and that should actually solve this problem. So let's give that a shot and see if it fixes the problem. So to do this, there's a couple of things we need to do on the API level. The first one, So the first one is we update our function so that it can take in less than or greater than. And we'll keep the before mechanism because I still think that's a handy one. No real reason to get rid of it. Next thing we're going to do is update the fetch notification bit to include the key. And that's roughly all that needs to happen here, and now I just need to make sure that we're passing in. Yeah, so we need to update this. And that should do it. Let's jump over to our test real quick and update this to use the same I like Java quite a bit. It's just basically got everything I want, you know? Just don't really have any complaints with it. Okay, that looked right.
Citizen.
So with that handled, we now need to update our front-end code to use that form of pagination instead. So that's actually a known issue that had to do with the database getting removed. Before, I need to know exactly how many notifications I should have here. Okay, so that should actually go all the way down to test reply 1. Ah. Seems kind of wrong, actually. Ah. That's why. I need to go to my API. That's a shame. Should have tested this on the front end before I committed it on the Citizen backend. In the getters, I need. Hang on. In list notifications. I need this. I need the keys to be formed like that. I guess I'll just duplicate that work. It's not a huge deal. It's not great, not bad. And then over here, I think I am already modifying the, yeah, okay. Let's restart you. There we go.
Citizen. Citizen.
Oh, look at that. It's only happening when I do list home feed. Solo, destroyer of worlds. Alright, server going down for a restart. Apologies, everybody. So low. So low. Oh boy. Oh, I'm gonna have to get around to fixing this load time sooner than later, because this is brutal. Alright, when Miguel gets back. Actually, I can test this myself, because I still have his login. Fixed. It would not be nice to post things as Miguel now that I have his creds, right? I shouldn't do that. That would be a violation of trust. We all agree about that, right? right, Solo, what you doing to me here? I would bet good money it's a similar problem to what we were just dealing with. I'm going to use the bathroom real quick, and then we'll dive into this, so be right back. So you know how Neo in the Matrix, the name Neo was an anagram for the one, for one? Well, think about this. Solo is a synonym for one. Solo is Neo confirmed. He's the unfixable glitch in our Matrix. And on the plus side, this one's a little easier for us to fix because what is my password? Shoot. That's it. I actually can see it. So let's see if it's the same bug. No, it's not the same bug, because we're using keys in that situation. So Solo might be onto something that it's just self-post, because that's the only ones I'm seeing that, but other people self-post and there's no problem. Uh-oh, wait a minute, I think I got a theory. I think I got a theory. That's it. I've got duplicate follow records for Solo. I would bet good money. Yep, one of them is capitalized and one of them is not. That's what's going on. So let's try a little YOLO fix here. Okay. That was it. That fixed it. Okay, so fix some bugs. Now we're back to the one that I set out to fix in the first place, which is the bug around the limit on the number of members fetched. My inclination is, even though in the long run it's not going to be workable for us to have these full listings, let's just get a quick fix done now where we basically apply pagination. You know, just fetch until we got them all. So let's take a look at the method that we use for list members. Okay, and so we just need to sort of wrap this in to like a list all or something similar. Come to think of it, we may not actually have all the pagination mechanisms we need for this. We have it here when you're using the RPC API, but I don't believe I've implemented pagination on any of the... Let's find out, did I? Oh, I did. Good for me. Hooray for me. Oh man, I'm on top of it. I'm already doing everything I need. Don't remember writing it, but I did it. Alright, so then that'll have... Pass Paul's on it. The guy knows what he's doing. There we go. You know, for the sake of just, you know, whatever, let's do Kind of an arbitrary limit, but just make sure it doesn't go indefinitely. Something else we could do actually to optimize this a little. Explicitly specify a limit. And if it returns less than 100, we know we hit the cap. There we go. So now when we are looking at one with less than 100 users, it'll not cost us anything extra.
Citizen.
Right. I think it's time to do post reactions. All right. But do I have the energy for this today? That's the question. It's a pretty involved piece of work. Part of me is kind of inclined to just stick with some of the more superficial quality of life stuff. And then like maybe tomorrow see where my energy's at to do an extra stream day tomorrow. Because definitely there is a part of me that's like, you know, just the reactions are a full day thing, similar to the image post, and I'm doing a little self-rating of my energy level. I don't know if I got it. But it could also just not be a wuss. I don't know. I feel like handling some of the kind of usability things first might be something that's more my speed today. Hate to say it. We're going to have to delay on the post reactions. Couple of things I'd like to get done. One of them is to improve this menu in, you know, a number of ways. It overflows whenever you're on mobile, which is just awful. But it's also just not a very good looking menu. I'd also like to get the control enter handled so that you can type responses faster. So those are two usability items, and if anybody in the chat wants to suggest hitting another kind of usability thing, I'm open to suggestions. Now, how do we want to make this look? How does Reddit do this? Because Reddit is the one that has the most similar sort of UI. So you click on Create Post. Tells you to choose a community. It's a pretty similar UI, actually. It scrolls. It also sort of... Actually, I'm going to just totally steal what they're doing here. Huh. This is like exactly the same. You can choose to post to your profile or my communities. It's funny that they changed the language there. Their UI is your profile and then my communities. Usually you try to be really consistent about that. You refer to the user either as you or me. So I'm not really sure it makes a huge difference, that consistency idea. People always know what you're talking about. So let's kind of dig in. First thing we're going to want to do is introduce the scrolling. Composer, it's the post composer. And we're going to need to do a custom context menu. So we're going to be overriding the render function. Bit of a pain, to be sure, but not terrible. And so that will be as opposed to that, which means custom style doesn't get applied, nor does CLS. Okay, so I believe, okay. Huh. I got a vestigial limb here. Alright, catch you later. Good seeing you as always. Hopefully catch you on the next one. Have a great weekend if I don't see you. Okay, some interesting things going on there. Looks like I need to specify the left class. I believe the context menus are still using the shadow DOM. So, we're not going to probably be able to use... If we want to use tailwind, we have to include it. Which we could do. Wouldn't be a terrible move. I think I like to use tailwind for this, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to do link rel equals style sheet. Href is css tailwind.css. Okay. You know what? I don't need that. I'll just do this with tailwind. So I'm going to do something sort of unorthodox here. Wink, wink, and rip off Reddit shamelessly on some of the UI choices they made. I would never think to do this in any other situation. Wink, wink. Yeah, that tailwind loading up slowly sucks. I think I'm going to be able to do it that way. I think I'm going to have to use good old-fashioned CSS. This is some old CSS that from early Beaker days that I'm working with here, and it's a little tricky to remember exactly how all that works. Okay. It feels decent. Not amazing, but decent. Certainly better. Got an overflow problem now. It actually feels better anyway. Okay. It's odd. I think I know why. I think this is not being preserved. There we go. Okay, how's this feeling? It's okay. Let's fix up the sorting here. I think maybe the one thing that would improve on this is just to increase the size of the images. It feels a little weird as it is. Oh man, autoplay just brought on Trip Like I Do. Is that song called? Yeah. A filter. Man. That takes me back. Don't think I've heard this song since I was like 19 maybe? Even younger. That feels a little better. Visual balance is better and it's a little easier to scan. Not a huge fan of the light text on the ID, so I'm going to get rid of that. Yeah. Last thing to check is that the mobile version is okay. Alright, so we got a little bit too wide. We could do responsive on that. Why don't we do that responsively? Okay.
Citizen.
So let's just wait for that to deploy. Boy, that's going to be a major improvement, because that was ugly. There we go. Okay. Works on mobile. Good deal. All right, let's get that Command or Control plus Enter supported. We'll start with Comet Composer. It's detecting control.key, but not meta.key, which is odd. So that works for key down, but not key up. So be it. Okay, now we just need to do the same thing to the post composer. All right, simple enough. Hey, Big Tech. Just in time for the new commit bump.
Citizen.
So that's that handled. What else is on our to-do list of low-hanging fruit? We could get around to doing this thing right here, documenting the SMTP setup and adding all those flows, but that kind of sucks. I don't want to do that. Frankly, on account of being low on energy, may not last long. You know what? Let's do this. Let's do the favicon thing. So I was kind of thinking that the favicon ought to be like a city skyline. No, they do not have the citizen icon. I don't love that. Let's look around, see if anybody's ever made a city favicon that we could just kind of look at for reference here. These are really blowing me away. That's fun. What is this? I do miss these old school pixel art kind of websites. Huh, neat. There's these are really fun actually. It's a whole icon set for with a lot of isomorphic icons. That's really fun. Is this like, okay, so let's see here. The standard software icons. Yeah, they got isomorphic versions of a lot. That's really fun. I was always somewhat of a fan of the desktop themes that would use isomorphic icons on the desktop. It's just always seemed really fun to me. So I'm looking for inspiration here, you know. I could jump into, you know, trying to draw a favicon, but drawing a favicon is actually pretty hard to do well. So it's a good idea, I think, to kind of look around at stuff that already exists and see how they feel. Truth be told, looking at these different sort of city icons doesn't really sort of suggest that's not a great icon theme. If anybody wants to offer any suggestions for what our fav icon should look like. Could always do something like, okay, so I'm gonna make a 32 by 32 buffer here. And I'm gonna try. Yeah, like a little person icon. We could certainly consider something like that, no question. We're just gonna have to try a couple of things out. Yeah, it was a very subtle one. Ooh. This is kind of boring, I know, but let's just kind of give this a shot at the outset. Yep, pretty much. Pretty much exactly what happened. It was the song that never ends. And it goes on and on, my friends. Y'all know the song that never ends? If you're not familiar with the song that never ends, it goes a little something like this. Starts out, this is the song that never ends. And it goes on and on, my friends. Some people started singing it, not knowing what it was. And then they kept singing it, and that is just because this is the song that never ends. And it goes on like that. Honestly, I think that came from a children's TV show. Yeah, it's from this, Lamb Chop. No, not by me. It's by this really old children's TV show that not many people remember called Lamb Chop. Yeah. And it's one of those things that's now permanently lodged in my brain, as is often wont to occur with things like children's songs. Okay, why is the fab icon not trying to load? There it goes. But it's given a 404, huh? Did I not just save it? Yeah. Maybe I just wrote that to the wrong repo. I did. Okay, so ignoring the white border, we've got a couple of problems with that. It's not good. For one, the odds of us being able to cram the word citizen in there seems kind of low. So that's problem number one. And of course there's the vertical centering, but let's just try to take this to the endpoint real quick and make sure that it's a no-go. It's also just kind of ugly, that red bar like that. This is truly outside of my skill set. There are a number of things that I'm not bad at visually, but favicons are very difficult, and I've never gotten the hang of it in any meaningful way. Even less legible. Okay. Yeah, we need something that doesn't just totally suck. Let's go ahead and get rid of that background layer. So I agree that we do need somebody that is good at graphic arts, but we don't have anybody. It's just the guy at the computer right now. No, he does music, but not graphic artistry, unfortunately. Yeah, I'm not even feeling this premise. Not just music for him, unfortunately. Oh, though his wife is actually an amazing artist, a visual artist, but she doesn't do this kind of art. Well, she's different kind of art. She's a how would I describe her art? So here's her style of art, which is fantastic. It's very cool. She made a little album for my brother there. But her, no. Do I have to? Are you kidding me? I scrolled too much and now I have to log in. I hate you, Instagram. What are you referring to, Paulo? So anyway, the style that she does here, what she does is it's single stroke. I really hate you, Instagram. You seriously can't just let me look at the dang... Whatever. But yeah, she puts her pen to the paper and doesn't lift it. Okay, I'll take a look here. So you say, can't even begin to say the name right, so I won't try, but you say this person has good citizen icons, eh? This the kind of thing you're thinking of? Oh, are you thinking of this? Yeah. Well, one of the really challenging things about what we're doing here about favicon design is to a degree that you like the small sizing requires some pretty darn good pixel art work. Okay, let's try another idea. So the initial logic of what I was doing here was to create a flag, which is something somebody recommended earlier. But now I'm just sort of curious what this abstract shape looks like. Probably not great. Which will be a recurring theme here. Almost everything we do will not look great. It looks garbage. Maybe if I, were to increase the contrast between the layers, it might start to look a little more like something, but I'm not confident that this is going to work. Just end up being one of those icons where you're like, what is that thing? I don't know. It's just the thing. Nah, that looks like nothing. Okay. Let's try another approach here. Let's try grabbing some icons that already exist that might fit what we're aiming for and using them as inspiration. One of the challenges too with favicons is to a degree you wouldn't expect something which conceptually seems like a good fit, like maybe that, ends up just looking really bad. It's really got to be a very minimalist thing. You know what else we could try? The Silicon Valley classic, as you might say. And isn't that funny? But that's the first thing that doesn't totally suck. Any thoughts? There's the matter of the color. But it's not offensive to look at in terms of, visually speaking, and it is easy to scan. Kind of like the pink thing going on with it. think that may fall into the domain of good enough. But I'm open to hearing any thoughts here, or tweaks or suggestions. So if anybody on the stream, before I commit this, wants to say something, now's your shot. Could try just a different color before we roll with it, but I do like the kind of pink thing there. Would fit with our general vibe. Yeah, it doesn't really match anything in the UI. If we switch to this aqua color, it'd be more correct on the palette front, I think. At least at this stage, because we're not using that kind of really bright. It's not quite the right blue. It's a little bit more in that direction. At this point, though, it is borderline exactly the Facebook logo, but with a C instead of an F, which that's not great. Can't be that blatant. Oof, yikes. Probably still a little light if we're going with considering a green. Nope. The green isn't bad. It's a little light still. Green makes me think money. So that probably isn't the right color. Blue tends to make me think a little bit more social, but it's also a very common color to use. If we're doing red, it should be maybe a little brighter. You don't really want it to be maroon. Still a little bit dark if we're doing red. Let's just try purple real fast. Choosing a color, I think, is probably the extent of my talent when it comes to this particular matter. So the purple actually doesn't clash too hard with the rest of the aesthetic. Not a lot of purple on the being used by folks. It's not bad. Maybe lighten it up just a little bit. Yeah, it's a little better. I think I like that. For some value of like. And now we just need to add this to all of the HTML. Alright, works for me.
Citizen. I believe it does do that actually. Oh, I thought it did. Maybe it does that only in the mobile one. Aha! Well, there's something to fix up.
Let's hit that real fast. And funny enough, we ended up using that purple. Okay, what next? Right, I wanted to update the composer to do what the floating thing does, which is when you click it, it should set the. So we got mobile compose button, which. Okay, so the problem is the header doesn't necessarily know what community it's in, but we can fix that just by adding that property. And you know what? I forgot to give us the bump.
Citizen.
One other thing I noticed is when I'm on mobile, it happens there too. So the for some reason, if you click underneath the avatar, rather than it taking you to the post, it takes you to the author, which is a big ol' hot mess of garbage. So why is it doing that? It's because that anchor is being brought to be larger than it should be, so that's in the feed that's happening. break something? Looks like I did break something. There we go. But now clicking on the avatar doesn't seem to do anything. I think you're right, Sarapath. This really is more of a CQY. Which, you know, that's great news for everybody. 10 times more exciting right out of the gate. I wonder if... kind of wondering if the mobile avatars are a little too small in the feed. Yeah, they are kind of a little small, actually. So let's fix that, and then I also want to do little visual updates on the footer for mobile. So we're doing grid post here, and so here's where it is currently. Let's try to get these at the same zoom. So that's before, and that's after. Before, after. I think that's actually better. I'm going to do that. So that means going over here, changing the default to 10. And then in the CSS, we're going to modify the grid post to just not do that. Yeah, I actually think that's better.
Citizen.
Now let's hit at the footer icons. They're currently a little bit dark and a little bit overly large. So I want to modify these. Yeah, that sizing is better, pretty sure, right out of the gate. So we're going to go over to header dash bot, and we're going to change that part first. So here's our before. And here's our after. Okay. So a little bit better. They seem kind of spastically arranged at the moment. And that is in some part because the Flex 1 thing isn't working the way it should. These are 25 pixels wide, so let's create our placeholder here. And the situation with that placeholder is eventually there will be an item there. Of course, I could just let it space out evenly for 3 items. But at some point, we are going to have an item here. And that didn't do jack. Why not? It's because they have padding on? No. Can't really figure out what's determining that. Well, that can't be properly centered, can it? That just looks visually wrong. 125, 125, 125. What if we did this? What if we took this same icon, stuck it in here, and then did a style equals visibility hidden? That should cause things to properly size this placeholder. Nope, big old middle finger to me. What's up with this? Maybe it's because I don't have the padding classes on it. That might actually explain it. You should actually not be rounded. There it is. Okay. So now we have a nice little blank space. And now I would like to get a little bit lighter of an icon. Text gray, what, 500? That seems about right. Actually, we shouldn't do it there. We should do it over here and do it right there. Okay. Did this get jacked up? It did, didn't it? That ought to be 2XL, I think. But that is sort of bizarrely large. Okay, so let's modify this. PY is wrong. It should be more like, what, 4? PY-4. Nope, try 3. That's better. And the PX is too wide. How about PX 5? That actually seems more right. Okay. So with this, we can actually just remove you. Go that way. So before, after. Yeah, I think that is markedly better. Before, after.
Citizen.
If the header nav went away when you scroll downwards. Now, I imagine there's a pretty straightforward way to do this, but is there anybody that has a nice answer to this without having to use JavaScript? Looks like that's going to be a no. All right then. So we're going to jump over to mobile top, and we're going to put a transition top of 0.1 seconds. This was an interesting challenge if I do this is that I have arranged things to have padding. So how do you deal with that? That's an interesting question, actually. I guess we make sure it's never hidden when you scroll to the top. I think we can pull that off. One nice little trick is to always, if you're going to be doing add event listener on scroll, make it passive. Passive is a nice little optimization that tells the browser you're never going to abort the command or abort the event, and it speeds it up. Looks like the exact thing I was just contending with, this person themselves has dealt with. Let's steal some of their wisdom, rather than stepping through each of these their own tedious process. Now it looks like they're doing this rather than listening to the scroll event, just pulling. Which might actually be a good idea. We don't actually need to handle every pixel of scrolling here. So I'm going to actually agree with their approach there. What is the delta that they're using here? 5 pixels? Okay. And then they're doing, if it's a scroll, yeah, so if the scroll top is greater than 50, why don't we set that? Header. If it's that, and okay, let's see how it goes. Doesn't seem to be doing anything. Okay, I gotta use the bathroom real fast. Okay. So why might this be doing this? It's Mobile top is right. Oh, I know why. Because I'm not capturing unless scroll top. Okay. Still not seeing anything happen here. It's possible that the threshold here is the problem. No, it's just bombing out right there. Yeah, okay. How did our advisor help us on this one? Might be that that's just not. Oh, hang on. Document.body.scroll top. Okay, that's wrong. Is it window.scroll top? No. Pretty sure that's the body's scroll top that we're using. Window.pagey offset A. I'm not familiar with that one. But it does seem to be correct. Okay, let's try that. That feels pretty nice. Sweet. That's gonna be a nice little update. Yeah, let's make sure that it doesn't do anything problematic. also just do a real quick performance check just to see if that scroll top calculation is like screwing with us or something. Eh, seems to be happy enough. Okay.
Citizen.
I'm pretty excited for that one. It's really not that often that I do. Like I honestly can't think of the last time I did a mobile app. Certainly, I think I did one like, oh boy, like a decade ago. So that's my first time doing it, but now that I am a fairly frequent mobile user and certainly using it on for Citizen, it's really enjoying getting adding these features. It just really hits on my vibe of like achieving quality with every one of these little improvements to make it feel good. The one thing I've been thinking about is getting push notifications on iOS is going to be a little bit of a pain. And I would like to get push notifications. I would like to have that be supported because very certainly in my own experience of using social media, I like to get notifications when somebody replies to me and stuff. And yeah, that is a nice update there. So, you know, the push notifications are pretty clutch, and right now iOS does not support push notifications from PWAs. Now they may change that at some point, but they don't currently. There's a lot of CQI in push notifications. I don't know if I'd say all, but like a significant proportion of it. I'm going to need to tweak that header behavior a little bit, but for the most part it's pretty good. There are a couple of things where, you know, like switching between the feed and the followers when you're looking at somebody who's not getting the scroll quite right. Things like that to work through, but overall pretty good. Definitely is nice to have that header go away when you're scrolling down. And there's a weird interaction with. Doesn't look quite right whenever you're looking at a pop-up. So I got to think about how to deal with that. I'm gonna put that on as dues. Because I think I'm kind of out of juice. All right. I think that's it for me today. Does anybody got anything they want to talk about before we wrap it up? Guess I got to do the ritual playing myself out. Get immediately alarmed by this. Song about fav icons. Song about fav icons. People wanna look at your tab and know what the fuck is in that tab. They try to look at that globe icon and they're kinda like, what the hell is that? So you gotta find something that looks pretty good with 16 by 16 or 32 by 32, and it's really hard to fit in anything meaningful into that space. There you go. Thank you, thank you. Yeah. Does anybody have any exciting weekend plans? I've been getting a couple of different bug reports and feature requests from folks here. Oh, you're working over the weekend? Do you have any breaks, Paulo? If anybody has a feature or a bug report that I've just been missing because there's just so many different things I'm bouncing between, let me know. Like right now, feel free to bring it up and we can talk about getting it on the to-do list. 24/7. Ain't no rest for the wicked. Intra-server posts not showing up for the last days. No, thanks for mentioning it. Let's hold off until I get a chance to try to fix up the cross-community joining. And then we can kind of bundle all those issues together. Where's that one? Anything else for anybody? Okay. Well, it's been fun. We'll see how I'm feeling tomorrow. If I've got the energy, and I just might. Really excited to get the post reactions done. Would like to get that done. So if I'm feeling it, I want to try to jump on and do a stream tomorrow. But if not, worst case, I'll see you all on Monday. Enjoy your weekend. Try to get a little time off, Paulo. And everybody else. And I'll see you online. Have an excellent, excellent, excellent evening and weekend. Later. Citizens.